You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center.
Tonight on Cape Media News, state primaries clear the way to November.
Plus, a local charity goes full throttle.
And a recap of this week in sports.
These stories and more are coming up next on Cape Media News. Good evening and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Maxie Davidson.
And I'm Jamie Horton. State primary elections were held this week, and while the Mid-Cape region didn't have any closely contested races, there's still plenty to recap. Starting with the 1st Barnstable District for state representative, incumbent Chris Flanagan ran unopposed on the Democrat ballot and had no official Republican challenger. However, earlier this year, it was revealed that in 2022, Mr. Flanagan participated in some less than honest campaign tactics, resulting in steep fines for campaign finance violations. This story broke on the day of the deadline for Republican candidates to register. Since no official Republican candidate was on the ballot, Yarmouth local Jerry O'Connell announced a write-in campaign. With only 150 votes needed to secure a spot on the November ballot, the 1st Barnstable District now has a race. Moving on to the 2nd Barnstable District, Democrat incumbent Kip Diggs is being challenged by Republican Suzanne Conley. Conley has been a vocal opponent of offshore wind projects and founded Save Greater Dowses Beach. She cites concerns about offshore wind projects as one of the reasons she's running. Diggs is running for his 3rd term and was elected in 2020 as the first African American on the state legislature from Cape Cod. In the 4th Barnstable District, Democrat Hadley Luddy is running unopposed for the primary and will be the only candidate on the ballot in the general election. And wrapping up the state representative races is the 5th Barnstable District. Republican incumbent Stephen Zaros ran unopposed on the Republican ballot and is seeking re-election for his 3rd term. In 2022, Zaros ran unopposed in the general election. Challenging him is Democrat Owen Fletcher, who also ran unopposed on the Democrat ballot. Fletcher currently serves the Barnstable County Assembly of Delegates as their clerk. Moving over to the Cape and Island State Senate race, Democrat incumbent Julian Cyr is seeking his 5th term, running unopposed on the Democrat ballot. His Republican opponent, Chris Lozen, also ran unopposed. Lozen and Cyr ran against one another previously in the 2022 general election. Lozen has criticized Cyr recently for his response to the Vineyard wind turbine blade malfunction that led to fiberglass debris washing up on Cape and Island's beaches. Republican candidates are wasting no time and are now uniting to lower the cost of living. Just yesterday, Lozen, Conley, and O'Connell announced their affordability plan. Take a look.
So, first and foremost, I'm here to pledge no new taxes once I'm in office. I will not support more taxes on an already overtaxed population. I will work to disband Governor Healy's transportation task force, which is looking at increasing tolls, expanding tolls all across the state, increasing regulations, excise taxes, all kinds of things that will impact people's pockets all across the state.
The Democrats do not seem to think there's a problem. And I think that's because they are the problem.
These policies are gutting the middle class. We can't afford to live here comfortably. So these proposals will help us get by. This is what we need.
As we get closer to the general election in November, we hope to speak with each of these candidates to bring you more information about their campaigns.
Last week, a teenage boy was killed in a car crash on North Main Street in Yarmouth. Shortly after 1 p.m. on August 30th, Yarmouth police received multiple calls reporting a person pinned between a boat and the vehicle towing it. Officers responded to the scene, and Yarmouth Fire Department's heavy rescue was requested. A truck towing a boat trailer had pulled to the side of the road to look at a broken axle. While the passengers were attempting to fix the trailer, a car struck the boat trailer from behind. As a result of the crash, a 14-year-old boy was killed and 2 others were transported to Cape Cod Hospital. The Yarmouth Police asked the community to keep this family, their loved ones, and first responders in their thoughts.
On their second day back to school, students at Chatham Elementary School were briefly evacuated from the building as a precautionary measure in response to a low carbon monoxide reading. The carbon monoxide was a result of the renovations being done in the courtyard of the school. The Chatham Fire Department fully evaluated the levels in the building, and the students returned to their regularly scheduled school day after a short break outside.
The Cape Cod Regional Government Assembly of Delegates sent a letter to U.S. Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland last week regarding the offshore wind projects. The letter outlined the Assembly's opposition to the proposal of the project that would see 1,000 wind turbines built in local waters. The Assembly states that these projects, quote, could have a very material impact on the environment, the way of life, and economy on Cape Cod, and all national parks throughout the United States. We also have concerns regarding the recent wind turbine blade broken in the Vineyard Wind development and debris washing up on beaches, end quote. The Assembly is calling for President Biden, Senators Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren, and Congressman Bill Keating to stop this process from moving forward and reset the project back to its early planning stages to give Barnstable County officials the chance to participate.
That's not all the Assembly has been up to recently. They're now calling for members of the public to serve on a charter review committee. Barnstable Delegate Patrick Princey, Speaker of the Assembly, has asked Select Board members and town councilors in Barnstable County to recommend individuals to review the charter and ordinances of the county to determine if any amendments are necessary. The Assembly would like to receive recommendations by September 21st. For more information, contact Assembly Clerk Owen Fletcher at 508-375-6761 or owen.fletcher@capecod.gov.
Are you prepared for emergencies? Cover all your bases at Harwich's Emergency Preparedness Fair at the Community Center on September 21st. Various town departments will present demonstrations, information, and resources to keep you and your family safe during dangerous situations. Stop by Harwich Animal Control's table for a fun giveaway, along with all the information you need to ensure your pet's safety in the event of an emergency.
The Cape Cod and Southeast Massachusetts Rabies Task Force is resuming oral rabies vaccine baits on September 9th. Aerial distribution will begin on September 10th and last approximately 3 or 4 days. One low-flying, federally owned red and black helicopter will distribute the vaccine bait over Barnstable. Ground operations will go until the 13th and be conducted by town, county, and federal employees. The baits will be distributed in areas where animals like raccoons, coyotes, and foxes frequent, and away from areas where domestic animals and people are unlikely to find them. However, if you do find a bait sachet, use a glove or towel to either throw it into a wooded area or dispose of it, and call the Rabies Task Force at 877-722-6725.
The Association to Preserve Cape Cod has been awarded $15 million from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The Transformational Habitat Restoration and Coastal Resilience Grant will support the planning, design, and implementation of 5 wetland restoration projects on Cape Cod. The APCC will restore the salt marsh at Weir Creek in Dennis, the river and cranberry bog at Hinckley's Pond in Harwich, and 3 other locations in Mashpee and Falmouth. The APCC will work in close collaboration with the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe, the Wacoit Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, the Harwich Conservation Trust, the Cape Cod Conservation Trusts, and other local partners to complete these projects.
Coming up after the break, Charities on Wheels. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cape Media News.
5 Cape Cod nonprofit organizations will receive funding from the upcoming Seaside Le Mans. the race for the Cape Cod community. This 4-hour endurance F1-style kart race, which will take place tomorrow in Mashpee Commons, has raised over $9 million since its inception 23 years ago, providing grants to dozens of organizations that impact the daily lives of Cape Cod residents. Cape Media News stopped by last year to learn more about one of the most unique community fundraising events in Massachusetts.
They're racing through a parking lot track that we've set up here in Mashpee Commons. It's a quarter-mile track, and we have sponsor teams in these F1 style karts that are doing upwards of 40 miles an hour around this track, all for benefiting these 5 beneficiaries this year. The winner is determined on which team finishes the most laps within the 4-hour endurance race. It really, truly is an endurance race. Teams of 6 swap in and out throughout, and these are just really miniature versions of the F1 karts that people see on TV all the time. In past years, some of the big highlights of this event have been new organizations that are beneficiaries for this, that without the money they've received, they have later told us that they would not have been able to continue and do their great work. So the organizations that receive funding from the Seaside Le Mans are making real-time impacts on the community. This year we have Cape Cod Healthcare, we have the Cape Tech Foundation helping students who are Cape Tech, we have Sharing Kindness, which helps with suicide prevention. We have so many other groups that are involved over the years. So really the highlight is really all about these charities and the fact that the money raised is going right to them. Every single dollar that is donated to these charities goes right to the charities. 100% of the entire cost is underwritten by the Davenport companies. So if you weren't here with us in 2023 for Seaside Le Mans, mark your calendars, make sure you're here, September 2024. It's always the first Saturday after Labor Day. Seaside Le Mans will be back here in Mashpee Commons. Bring the family, bring your friends. If you're not racing, we have a family fun zone with lots of kids activities. The National Guard is always here with some of their equipment. We have great food from our partners at the Bourne Sandwich Rotary Club. And of course, we have to thank Mashpee Commons because they are our host here, and they've allowed us now for over 20 years to use their parking lot as part of this race. So we want you to come out and enjoy Mashpee Commons, visit their sponsors, visit their shops. Without Mashpee Commons, we couldn't do the Seaside Le Mans. So if you weren't with us here in 2023, we'll see you here in 2024.
This year's beneficiaries are Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance, Cape Cod Healthcare, Children's Cove, Brazilian Resource Center, and Heroes in Transition.
If charity go-kart races aren't your thing, how about cycling? Second Summer Cycle embarks on the safest and most enjoyable ride on Cape Cod next Sunday, the 15th. Volunteer Rich Falzone put together a half-hour program all about Second Summer Cycle. Here are some of the highlights.
We adapted this really to be 3 different distances, 33, 69, or 100 miles. So for those who really want to challenge, there's that 100-miler, and that one starts in Mashpee. They all end in P-Town. The 69-miler starts in Sandwich at Heritage Museums, and the 33 starts in Orleans. So there's a little bit for everybody, and then they all end in one big party at the end. We've constructed a route that takes safety in mind. It is not necessarily on the highway the whole way or on Route 6A the whole way. We're on the bike path to some degree. We're on a lot of back roads, very scenic, purposely to avoid the high traffic areas.
So you don't have to be a rider to do these rides, especially the 30, as long as you don't have a back issue and you've actually ridden a bike, 5 miles recently. You can get, do a few trainings and you could do it.
I am not a rider. I was in special gym growing up. The ride is for anyone, and I'm going to do 66 miles. I practice a lot on the rail trail, and I practice on roads that I think are safe. But when the time comes for the ride, I've done one other ride, not many other, but I felt very safe during the ride because there are so many marshals on the street. We have so many volunteers lined up for the ride that I really feel good about doing it, and I'm not scared about doing it. We have so many nonprofits that are coming together in organizing this community event. And it's supporting one another. I've met a lot of incredible people in this nonprofit space.
Please feel free to go to our website. It'll be in the lower third there, and feel free to donate or to volunteer as a rider or as a non-rider. It will be a spectacular day.
You can watch the full program on the Cape Media Center YouTube page.
The town of Yarmouth has announced that construction on key roadways as part of the wastewater project has been delayed to accommodate end of the summer traffic. Construction on South Shore Drive will resume on September 9th, and construction on Route 28 will resume on September 16th. Keep an eye out for updates, including specific timeframes and detour routes.
Chatham Affordable Housing Trust is seeking to acquire properties suitable for the construction of affordable and attainable housing. Proposals will be received by the Office of the Town Manager until 2 p.m. on Monday, September 23rd. You can get the request for proposals and supporting documents from the Chatham Town offices or by emailing Shannon Neely at sneely@chatham-ma.gov.
This Monday, the 9th, Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority is hosting a travel training session at the South Yarmouth Library. From 1:30 to 2:30, you can learn about bus routes and schedules, securing wheelchairs and bicycles, fees and fare structure, and how to use the Boston Hospital bus. Drop in and find out what public transit options might suit you.
Veterans are invited to join Secretary of Veteran Services John Santiago and State Rep Kip Diggs at the Osterville Veterans Association for a roundtable discussion. The discussion on September 19th from 2 to 4 p.m. will allow participants to learn more about how the HERO Act, if passed, will provide expansive services to Massachusetts veterans. For more information on this event, call Colleen Lofgren at 774-225-1320.
Did you miss out on the Pride celebrations in June? You have another chance. Cape Cod Pride's annual festival is next Saturday, September 14th. From 12 to 5 p.m., enjoy live music, art vendors, food trucks, kids' activities, and community at the Hyannis Village Green. Come show your support for the Cape's only LGBTQ+ nonprofit organization.
Commemorate your summer in Yarmouth with an engraved boardwalk plank. Planks are now available for purchase at the new community park under construction at 669 Route 28 in West Yarmouth. Don't miss your opportunity to memorialize a special person in your life, a family vacation, a nonprofit organization, or a local business. Each plank can include up to 24 characters, including spaces. For more details on boardwalk planks, visit yarmouth.ma.us/2129.
Have you ever been frustrated with unwrapping a package or pulling a tab off a milk carton? What about navigating the buttons on a new washing machine? Join Gloria, Betty, and Dorothy as they read excerpts from Gloria Hansen's books and discuss the realities of getting older. Their program, Getting Older is for All, Growing Up is Optional, will be on Saturday, September 13th at 1 p.m. at the Osterville Village Library. For more information or to register, call the library at 508-428-5757.
And lastly this evening, we send it to Ryan Downs with a recap of This Week in Sports.
Welcome back to the Cape Media News Sports segment. I'm your host and local sports guy, Ryan Downs. We went to a full slate of games this past week, so let's get right into this week's recap. Starting off with the DY boys soccer. They took on Rising Tide this past Tuesday for their first game of the season. And right out of the gate, DY attacked the ball and played aggressively, setting the tone for the match. They kept possession up past the midline and constant pressure on Rising Tide's defense. DY's aggressive play style must have gotten under the Tide's skin, because they drew an early penalty that resulted in a penalty kick, breaking the scoreless tie and giving DY a 1-0 lead. Shortly after, they extended it to 2-0 by catching the defense out of position. Coming out of the half, Rising Tide finally got their opportunity to display their powerful kicks and brought the score back to a 1-goal game at 2-1. There were many other opportunities for DY to put them away, but the Tide's goalkeeper kept them alive. In the final remaining minutes, DY was able to net a third goal and shut the door on them. as number 6 took the game into his own hands, cutting through the Tide's defense and splitting the keeper's legs to make it 3-1. And we were back at DY the following day for a volleyball match between the Dolphins and the Blue Devils from Fairhaven. The Dolphins dominated in all aspects of the game, securing their 3rd win of the season. Senior Mariah Eaton finished with the team highs of 12 kills and 5 aces, proving to be a force at the net and on the serve. And senior Vivian Castano dished out 25 assists while also leading the team with 11 digs. According to Max Preps, Castano came into the game with 2,071 assists, just 52 assists away from the school record. Her 25 assists on Tuesday would put her at 2,096, just 27 away from the record. In a commanding performance, the DY girls volleyball team swept Fairhaven 3-0. DY's next match is set for this upcoming Monday at home against St. John Paul II at 5:45 p.m. And we finished our week by attending a Monomoy boys soccer match. They traveled to Old Townhouse Park in Yarmouth to take on Sturgis East. Monomoy started their season off with a solid 4-3 win over Falmouth this past Tuesday and looked to build off that heading into yesterday's match. Led by the Laramie brothers, it didn't take long for Monomoy to strike first, with sophomore Tate Laramie scoring off a corner kick only 8 minutes in. The Sharks stayed on the offensive. Senior captain and returning league MVP, Ryan Laramie, notched the 2nd goal of the game at the 29-minute mark, and Tate added another one before the half to make it 3-0. Not even 4 minutes out of the half, Ryan added another goal to Monomoy's lead. And sophomore Aiden O'Keefe snuck one past the goalkeeper at the 60-minute mark. And a minute later, Ryan Laramie got his hat trick, getting his 3rd goal of the match to leave the score at 6-0. The Laramie brothers ended the game with 5 of Monomoy's 6 goals scored, while senior Seamus St. Pierre finished with 3 assists. Their next game is next Wednesday, the 11th, when they host CCA. And that's it for this week's sports update. Back to you, Jamie and Maxie.
Thanks, Ryan. Even though the kids just went back to school, some people are already preparing for spooky season.
It's true. Hyannis Library is preparing for spooky season with a scary short story contest. Kids, teens, and young adults can submit their scary stories to be read aloud on Facebook throughout October.
I guess that means it's time to put away the beach towels and get out the pumpkins. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story that you'd like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org.
Tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.
Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Maxie Davidson.